Now, welcome everybody to Bhakti Sangha Japa conference call. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Das Prabhuji, His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji to enlighten us on topic Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila, 25th chapter, 1 or 2 verse. Hare Krishna Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji. Thank you so much Prabhuji for joining and giving your valuable association and time this morning and enlightening us on topic Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. Please take over the call, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you for this opportunity. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalagaya Chaksharumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuthapadakamadaam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagar Jatam Sahitan Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Jayapataka Swamiti Namini Namacharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayani Gauranga Damadaya Nagragrama Tharini Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatharini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Reading from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila 25.102. Bhagavatera Sambandha Abhidheya Prayojana Chatushlokite Prakatathar Kariyache Lakshana. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. The essence of Srimad Bhagavatam, our relationship, our activities in that connection, and the goal of life is manifest in the 4 verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam known as the Chatushloki. Everything is explained in those verses. The learning objectives for this verse are, number 1, to discuss the context in which this verse appears. Number 2, explain Sambandha, Abhidheya and Prayojana. And number 3, what is the significance of the Chatushloki of the Bhagavatam. So let's start with the first thing here about to just discuss a little about the context. So I've been hearing about the pastimes of in this chapter. So, but I'll just briefly discuss the historical context. So this chapter is an extension of the 7th chapter in the Adi Lila, as we know. And where in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is the basic discussion exchange between Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Prakashananda Saraswati was first covered in the Adi Lila in the chapter on the Lord Chaitanya in 5 features. So when Mahaprabhu, when he was staying in Varanasi, he was staying in the house of Chandrasekhara, and he also used to stay with Tappana Mishra, where he accepted food. And at that time, there were and Varanasi is so rampant always with sannyasis who have a great proclivity towards Mayavada philosophy. So at that time, there were a lot of criticisms of Chaitanya. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was well known, and there were a lot of criticisms of Mahaprabhu and about his activitis and how he was. And even when he stayed in Varanasi, he stayed in Chandrasekhara's house, and sannyasis don't stay, and he was not considered a brahmana or any of the based on the caste divisions. Sannyasis don't stay in their house, and even for formality, he did accept food from in Tappana Mishra's house. But still, the Mayavadis were very. They had a lot of criticisms about Mahaprabhu. So at that time, Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhar Rao, they were all very unhappy about this whole how the Mayavadi sannyasis were skeptical of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he being a Vaishnava sannyasi, and at that time they were and Mahaprabhu never always mixed with. He never mixed with the Mayavadis sannyasis, and he himself says that as Mayavadi, the way he defines Mayavadi as Krishna aparadi, as offenders at the lotus feet of Krishna, of having rejected the personality, the spiritual form of Krishna, as so he himself, so he never associated, and he sets this as an example. So that is that is the meaning of the word acharya. The word acharya itself means that one sets an example. Mahaprabhu himself sets an example there of trying to avoid those who are blasphemous to the personality of the Godhead. And so given, and with this example, and since he is also supremely independent, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the supremely independent primordial personality of Godhead, he also chooses to, by his own will, to act in ways that are mysterious to common folks, and therefore he decides when to shower the mercy, and because it is and this mercy is always causeless. So, and at that time, when Chandrasekhara and Tapana Mishra, when they were expressing their grief to Mahaprabhu, at that time Mahaprabhu was in Tapana Mishra's house. At that time, Sanatana Goswami was also there, and at the time, a Maratha Brahmin came to their residence. This Maratha Brahmana has heard a lot about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he has met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and has seen his glory. And this Maratha Brahmana was a sponsor of one of the big mutts, which is the place where the Mayavadi sannyasis, many of them stayed in Varanasi. And the head of all the Mayavadi sannyasis there, as we know, is Prakashananda Saraswati. And this Maratha Brahmana, so he came to, he wanted to make sure that that Mahaprabhu did meet with the Mayavadi sannyasis, and so the Maratha Brahmana, he came to, he thought that whoever closely sees the characteristics of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they would immediately realize his personality and accept him as the Supreme Lord. So this is also, as was spoken previously by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Rupa Goswami, and where he asks about the descriptions of how to identify the Lord. So at that time, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says there are two ways by which you can identify whether how to understand that the Lord is descended in a form. So Mahaprabhu gives two different explanations there of two different things that we need to do. And one of them is to, actually he gives three, I think. So one is to see his personal characteristics. So you can see the personal characteristics of the person, about the effulgence and when Krishna appeared here, one would be able to see his personal characteristics. And the same way Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he appeared here, his personal characteristics is one way of finding out. The second way, we need to follow all the three, of course, and the second one is to see what the scriptures are saying. So the scriptures always say when the Lord descends, and so that means in this day and age, in the age of Kali, there are so many bogus counterfeits that and they are called Pashanvi. That means that they have assumed that they are they pose themselves as personality of God to innocent folks, and therefore the second thing which Mahaprabhu says is to follow the scripture. The scriptures will say when the Lord descends and how he descends and so on. And the last point is about the purpose of that appearance. So if you see here, the purpose is to always be to lead the common folks to get liberated and to be in the service of the Godhead. So that means if the person is not showing the path that leads to Godhead, then that means that if they are leading to other paths, then that's a third way or symptom, third way by which you can identify if somebody has this. And so all these three methods need to be used together. And so here the Maratha Brahmana, he thinks that once the Mayavadi sannyasis, even by looking at the personal features of Mahaprabhu, they will certainly become his devotees. And the Maratha Brahmana has to reside. He's a permanent resident of Varanasi. And he thinks that he needs to, and he was very concerned about his own life, that he doesn't want to suffer from mental depression for the rest of his life. He does not let them see this. So thinking like this, the Maratha Brahmana extends his invitation to. So he goes and he talks to the sannyasis, the Mayavadi sannyasis there, under Prakashananda Saraswati, and they all accept it. He's the biggest sponsor of their mutt in Varanasi, and therefore they do accept it. And then he approaches Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At that time, when already we had Tapana Mishra and Chandrasekhara, they had submitted to Mahaprabhu and take up this invitation. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu already saw his devotees very unhappy, and so he decided to turn the minds of the Mayavadis as a Bhaktavatsala, as he's always very considerate towards his devotees. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very seriously considering already meeting with the Mayavadis. In a timely fashion, the Maratha Brahmana approached him and extended an invitation. So the Brahmana submitted with great humility, and he touched the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he was always living in Varanasi, and he had heard the glories of Mahaprabhu. He made all these arrangements. And many of these pastimes are already described in the Adi Lila, so I won't go into all those things. But then he went to meet Prakashananda Saraswati, and that was the conversation in the 7th chapter in the Adi Lila, and where Prakashananda Saraswati himself becomes very, very astounded by the effulgence exhibited by Mahaprabhu and the wonderful things that Mahaprabhu said. And many of the things that Mahaprabhu and Prakashananda Saraswati in himself was very doubtful of in the past became very clear to Prakashananda Saraswati, and then they started speaking the glories of Mahaprabhu quite a bit. And then what happened was and we know from in this chapter that Mahaprabhu then on another day he went to the Bindu Madhava temple in Varanasi, and then he was dancing in front of the deity of Bindu Madhava. And at that time, Prakashananda Saraswati heard the tumultuous sound that was coming from the singing and the dance singing, and he wanted to personally see the Mahaprabhu's dancing. And so he actually went there along with, and many Mayavadi sannyasis followed, and they went to the Bindu Madhava temple to see Mahaprabhu's dance. And Mahaprabhu's dance is so much described in many, many places by different biographers, and of how it is, we have to, as ordinary living entities, we have to take so much of efforts to share about Krishna consciousness with people. And then, occasionally we do, somebody gets attracted to Krishna by Krishna's causeless mercy. And but when Mahaprabhu was here, he was able to make even animals dance and sing the glories of the Lord. And in that way, so many biographers, they have described the wonder which they have faced when Mahaprabhu was dancing and Prakashananda Saraswati came here. So there was a couple of, so when Rupa Goswami first describes him, he also says Namo Mahavadanyaya, that he is the most munificent of all. Krishna Prema Pradayate, freely distributing the love of Godhead. And he calls him Namo Mahavadanya. Vadanya, I mean somebody who is very generous, very munificent. Why would you call somebody as very generous and very munificent? You call somebody as very generous and very munificent if they are giving something to people which is so invaluable. And therefore, you can call somebody who builds a charitable institution, a charitable charity hospital or a school or for education. These people are also called as generous, but they are not. It's so hard to describe anybody as the most generous, most munificent, most benevolent. And here, Rupa Goswami describes Mahaprabhu's Mahavadanya, means the most munificent. The reason why he is most munificent is because he is giving the rarest of the commodities to the world, and that is Krishna Prema Pradayate, the love of Krishna Chaitanya. So in this way, so when he describes the most munificent nature, and then if we see some of the ways by which people have been so much attracted by the dance of Mahaprabhu. So there was another saint, his name was Prabodhananda Saraswati, and he's not connected with this Prakashananda Saraswati. So, and Prabhupada specifically mentions that in one of the purports, I think in Adi Lila as well as in Antya Lila also there comes this verse comes, I think. And in one of the purports, he clearly says that there is no connection between them, Prakashananda Saraswati and Prabodhananda Saraswati. So Prabodhananda Saraswati was a brother of the head priest in the Srirangam temple in South India. Venkata Bhatta's brother was Prabodhananda Saraswati, and when he saw Mahaprabhu dancing, and he described some of the wonderful feelings that he saw when Mahaprabhu was dancing, and that was in one of the verses. I think it is 105 or something in his biography that he wrote called Chaitanya Chandramrita, and so where he describes Ananda Lila Maya Vigrahaya Hemavadivya Chavisundaraya Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste. So Ananda Lila, so it is full of blissful pastimes. Ananda Lila Maya, so it is so full of blissful pastimes. Ananda Leelamaya Vigrahaya. So if you take all the blissful pastimes and make a form out of it. Okay, so this is how he's describing the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as he sees Mahaprabhu dancing in front of the temple. In Srirangam, that's where he saw Mahaprabhu first, before he left to Vrindavan. And then he was with the Goswamis, and then he wrote some wonderful scriptures called the Vrindavana Mahimamrita, which is about 16,000 Sanskrit verses in the glories of Vrindavan and the Chaitanya Chandramrita and so on. So these are some super excellent Sanskrit treatises. So he describes Mahaprabhu as Ananda Leela Maya Vigrahaya. So for all the blissful pastimes are put together in a form. Hema means golden. Hema with Divya. It's not some ordinary gold which is full of which is bright and effulgent, but it is Hema with Divya. Divya is transcendental. So it's transcendental gold put together. Hema with Divya Chavi Sundaraya. So such beautiful transcendental gold is Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya. So, and then if this I think somebody's phone is not muted. Okay. Tasmai Mahaprema Rasapradaya. So if you have the Prema Rasa, the love of the mellow of love, okay, Prema Rasapradaya. So he's freely distributing this Prema Rasa. Chaitanya Chandraya Namo Namaste, unto that moonlight Chaitanya. I offer my humble obeisances. So there are these wonderful descriptions of Mahaprabhu's, how people have seen Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's dance, and all that was needed is, there was some dust from his lotus feet. People roll on the ground and exhibit all kinds of symptoms that are exhibited by the called as the Vaishnava bhavas, the qualities, and these things are not something that can artificially come, and that's always added as a added in these contexts, because one shouldn't artificially imitate these kind of transcendental symptoms. But these symptoms are actually described in the Bhagavatam. And when Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, when he has read those things, like many people wonder, so all these characteristics are there in the scripture, but where can we see it in person? And Mahaprabhu, as the personality of Godhead, he exhibited these features to the fullest extent. And so what are those symptoms that people see when they are in? So when they exhibit these transcendental systems, these Vaishnava qualities, Vaishnava bhavas, they are all described in the Bhagavatam in the 11th canto, I think, where it says. Jatanurago Dridachitta Uchai Hasatyato Roditi Rauthi Gayati Unmadavan Nrityati Lokabahya. If my memory is correct, it's in the 11th canto. Hasatyato. Suddenly the devotee laughs. Hasatyato. Roditi. Suddenly they cry. Rauti. Hasatyato Roditi Rauti. So their body just trembles. It shivers. And then Gayati, they suddenly sing the glories of Krishna. Unmadavat means that Madhav means they become mad after Krishna. So Unmadavat means they become, their consciousness they're completely Krishna conscious. They're no more in the material platform. Unmadavat Nritya means dancing. So they start dancing, lokabhahya, without caring for the public. So if somebody is dancing in complete Krishna consciousness, and suddenly they're laughing, suddenly they're trembling, suddenly they're falling on the floor, and all this kind of thing, these kind of symptoms, they cannot be done if you care for public. So lokabhahya, so they are not aware of the material situation. They're not aware of the material surroundings around them. Hasatyato Jatanurago Dridachitta Uchai. So this is in this kind of spontaneous love, Raga Anugadati, when one exhibits these kind of qualities, Jatanurago Dridachitta Uchaihi Hasatyato Roditi Rauti Gayati Unmadavan Nrityati Lokabhaya. Without caring for public, they exhibit these kind of symptoms. But then again, we need to be careful of not artificially exhibiting these symptoms, because most of these symptoms are not something that can be achieved by especially in those in the neophytes, and which is the majority of the people, and even the Uttama Adhikari. These are something which are exhibited by those who have moved from the Vairi Bhakti towards higher stages of devotional experience. So here the Tapana Mishra comes, the Prakashananda Saraswati, he comes and sees the wonderful dance of Mahaprabhu, and then he goes and falls at the feet of Mahaprabhu, and then praises Mahaprabhu, of course, with that how he is, that because his heart is melting. You may have one might have studied all the way the scriptures, and in whatever context they have understood that one's heart melts by the personality of Godhead. And so these are all there are so many examples in scriptures where someone who has not been in the impersonal, who is always focused on the impersonal feature, they have moved towards worshipping the personality of Godhead. We have seen that in the Kumaras. We have seen that in the in Sukadeva Goswami, so who was oblivious to the material situation, but then when he heard his father sing the Bhagavatam, he immediately turned towards worshipping the personality of Godhead. But in this case, if you see, this is an example of Mayavadi. It's not just just an impersonalist, but they are also Mayavadis who have where there is a blasphemy of the form of the Godhead. But even in this case, Mahaprabhu is so merciful, and then he asks a number of questions, and then Mahaprabhu gives the explanation of the Vedanta Sutra. So one day, when Mahaprabhu was at the Bindu Madhava temple, so Prakasha and the Saraswati, so he immediately fell down at the lotus feet of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and very much regretted his past behavior towards the Lord. And he asked Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about devotional service in terms of the Vedanta Sutra. And the Lord then explained to him, pointed to him the Srimad Bhagavatam, and has been the proper commentary of the Vedanta Sutra, because Artoyam, the Garuda Purana, says this, and the Bhagavatam itself says this, and the Garuda Purana also says Artoyam Brahma Sutranam. So if you want to see the natural commentary of the Brahma Sutra, the Vedanta Sutra contains 4 chapters, and the natural commentary itself is Srimad Bhagavatam Advaitam. So the Bhagavatam itself is a natural commentary of the Brahma Sutra or the Vedanta Sutra, and therefore at that time Mahaprabhu picks these 4 verses called the Chatushloki. So you have a Chatushloki for the Bhagavad Gita, you have the Chatushloki for the Bhagavatam. So picks the 4 verses, and he says that these 4 verses are self-evident and give the entire message. So and these are in these 4 verses, the Chatushloki. Mahaprabhu also gave this explanation to another about the Chatushloki to another person, and his name was called Keshava Kashmiri. So Keshava Kashmiri was long time when he was Mahaprabhu was a very young, was in his teenage. At that time, Mahaprabhu was instructor of Sanskrit grammar, called Vyakaran. So when he was instructor of Vyakaran, at that time there was Keshava Kashmiri came to Navadvip. At that time, when Keshava Kashmiri got his realization, he was a devotee of Saraswati Devi who used to help him out, and she herself tells him, Arya Janina Sakshat Krishnam Gauranga Pandita. So you civilized man, you think that you are a big person, but please understand that this Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, at the time Mahaprabhu was called Nimai or Nimai Pandit. So you think he's some Nimai, but he is Sakshat Krishnam Gauranga Pandita. This Gauranga Pandit is none but Krishna himself. And therefore, so to him, to Keshava Kashmiri also Mahaprabhu, when he also describes this 4 verses, the Chatushloki, after which the Keshava Kashmiri then goes towards Vrindavan, and he joins the Nimbarka Sampradaya there and becomes a sannyasi there in the Nimbarka Sampradaya. So that is a brief context for this why Mahaprabhu is going to be describing the Chatushloki here. So the 3 words that are methods. Let's go to the second learning objective here, which is about Sambandha, Prayojana, and Abhideya. So these 3 words Mahaprabhu says is the subject matter of the Chatushloki, and in the same way these 3 words are also Sambandha, Prayojana, Abhideya. They are the subject matter of the Vedanta Sutra as well. Like the Vedanta Sutra has 4 chapters. The first chapter is like an introduction of what is the subject matter. The second chapter is on Sambandha, the third chapter is on Abhideya, and the 4th chapter is on Prayojana. In the same way, these 4 verses, the Chatushloki, are in the same way. So if we see Sambandha, so there are 3 deities that have very specific qualities here. So Varsha, so Madana Mohan, so initially he was called Madana Gopal, and then he later was called as Madan Mohan, is on the platform of re-establishing our forgotten relationship. Okay, so that is the Sambandha. Sambandha is the relationship to re-establish the forgotten relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in the beginning of our spiritual life, so we worship Madan Mohan, so that Madan Mohan may attract us and nullify our attachment to the material sense gratification. So there are 2 purposes here. One is to detachment from material sense gratification, and the second is attraction towards Krishna. So both need to go simultaneous. So this relationship, and one is so the relationship with Madan Mohan is necessary for neophyte devotees. Prabhupada says that. Then when one wishes to render service to the Lord with strong attachment, okay, now we go to the next phase, which is one worships Govinda. Govinda on the platform of transcendental service. So here this is called Abhideya. Abhideya is the process by which, so we have to follow authorized process of worship to the personality of Godhead, and the deity associated with this is Govinda, Radha Govinda. When by the grace of Krishna and then another devotee, so there are two reasons, so one doesn't want to think that it's because of one's service, then one goes towards the next part, which is called as Prayojana, or the goal of one's service. So it is not because of just one's service, but there are two things here. One is the grace of Krishna, which is his causeless mercy, and the other is the grace of the Vaishnavas. The other devotees, Vancha Kalpadrabhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha, they are so merciful, because if you see, by and large, all the devotees people have regained their original Krishna consciousness. The cause of that is always the mercy of other devotees. It's not so Krishna himself directly intervening. There are cases there, but by and large, it is the Vaishnavas who are so merciful to others. And so one is by the grace of Krishna, and the other is, it's always the combination. So mito, combination of the two. Okay, so, and the devotees, one reaches the perfection in devotional service. And what is the perfection in devotional service? To appreciate Krishna as what? As Gopi Jana Vallabha. That is the deity's name called Gopinath. That is a pleasure. Okay, so he is a deity of the damsels of Braja. So Gopi Jana Vallabha, and he's called as Gopinath. So these are the three deities associated with the three words which are mentioned in this particular translation. So as the person who established and there are also three acharyas who are connected with the three deities. So the person who established the worship of Madan Mohan is Sanatana Goswami, and he occupies a special position in our disciplic lineage. And he is the representative teacher of the first jnana called as Sambandha Jnana, which is the knowledge of our proper devotional relationship with Krishna. What is our spiritual relationship with Krishna? And there is the deity associated with that is Madan Mohan. And then you have the representative teacher for that, who is Sanatana Goswami. And then comes the next part, which is the process. Okay, so first is establishing the relationship with Madan Mohan. Second is the process. So the process is done through Rupa Goswami is the representative teacher there, and the deity associated with this is Govinda. Radha Govinda is a representative. So they are the representative teacher and the deity for Abhideya Jnana. Abhideya is the knowledge of how to develop the relationship with Krishna. And the last one is Raghunatha Dasa Goswami, okay, and who is aligned with the deity called Gopinath, okay, Radha Gopinath, and is considered to be and he's the representative teacher of Prayojana. So with this, the three, we have our invocative prayers. Jayatam Surato Pangor Mama Mandamathergati Mata Sarvatva Padam Bojo Radha Madana Mohano. So Radha Madan Mohano. So he is all glories. So this is Radha Madan Mohan, all glories to them. So that they are the directors and their lotus feet is everything to us. So this is the invocation prayers that we say for Radha Madan Mohan, and this is and they are the deities associated with Sambandha or relationship with Krishna. Abhideya Divyad Vrindaranya Kalpadrumadaha Srimat Ratnagara Simhasanastu Srimat Radhasila Govinda Devo Preshtalvi Svayam Manos Manami. So in the temple of jewels in Vrindavan, there is a desire tree. Okay, as we say, Radha Govinda is served by their most confidential associates, and they sit upon this effulgent throne, and we offer their obeisance unto them. And for Prayojana, the deity is Radha Gopinath, Sriman Radharasaram Pipam Sivatatharastitaha Garshan Venu Swaner Gopi Gopinatha Shriyasukha. So Gopinath, who originated in the transcendental mellow of the Rasa dance, he stands there, and we offer our obeisance unto the Gopinath, who is the ultimate goal of he attracts all the damsels of the cowherd damsels, and then he plays flute, and then he offers the ultimate benediction of love of Godhead. So so here we are seeing the fullest picture, but the same thing is described in the in the Vedanta Sutra, in the 4 chapters. The Vedanta Sutra itself is the summary of all the Vedanta. So if you take, there are about 1048 Upanishads, 1048 Brahmanas, 1048 Aryankas, 1048 Samhitas, and then you take the summary of all this, and then it's codified into just 4 chapters called as the Brahma Sutra or the Vedanta Sutra. And Vyasadeva himself summarized all these things, summarized this into the Vedanta Sutra. So many acharyas have given many commentaries for this. So because it is a summary of so many Brahmanas, Aryankas, Upanishads, Samhitas, so acharyas have given commentaries for this, and they first existed. There are many commentaries have existed throughout. The one among those which are available, about 6 are available right now with in complete package, and one of them is the Mayavadi commentary called as the Sharirika Bhashya, written by the first Sankaracharya, and then the other 5 commentaries are all in the Vaishnava lineages that are existing. One is written by Ramanujacharya in the Sri Sampradaya, then Madhvacharya is there, and then Nimbarkacharya is there, called Vedanta Parijata Saurabha. Then you have in the Vishnu Swami lineage, you have Vallabhacharya, so there is one Anubhashya. And then ours is, of course, there is Govinda Bhashya, written by Baladeva Vidyabhushana. And but then Mahaprabhu's, the reason why Gauriya Vaishnavas until Baladeva Vidyabhushana, we never wrote a commentary for that is because Mahaprabhu himself has said that there is no necessity for writing a commentary, because any commentary is going to have its own issues. So therefore, the author of the Vedanta Sutra himself has written the commentary. Artoyam Brahma Sutra, and the commentary of the Vedanta Sutra itself is naturally evident in the Srimad Bhagavatam. And therefore, and here, so it is said that there are 3 prominent, so we say that there are 3 prominent deities. There are many deities in Vrindavan. And the 3 most prominent ones are Madan Mohan, and then Sri Radha Govinda and Radha Gopinath. Okay, and So that is what is explained here. After establishing our relationship with the Lord, and when we act in that relationship, that is called Abhideya, establishing the relationship is Sambandha, and then finally we render service, humbling, loving service, and it's explained that the hands playing the flute and the chest of the Lord is perfectly manifested in the deity of Govinda, and then by this Abhideya, we get utterly purified, and then we attain the state of Prayojana. Prayojana is the final goal, and that is the ultimate goal of unalloyed love of God in the mood of the residents of Vrindavan. Okay, so Lord Gopinath, it's a Prayojana Murti. So the summary of what we spoke so far is that Madan Mohan is the Sambandha Murti, and then we have Govinda, who is the Abhideya Murti, and then Gopinath is the Prayojana Murti. So now we go to the last part of the third final learning objective for today, and that is to just give a brief the discussion of the Chatushloki. So it would not be possible to do a detailed thing of the 4 verses of the Chatushloki. They all appear in the 2nd canto in the Bhagavatam, and where Lord Brahma is first instructed by Krishna with the Chatushloki. So this is in the 9th chapter. There are verses 33, 34, 35, 36, I think, and in the 9th chapter in the 2nd canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. But because each of those verses is so deep that each of them can easily take 50 minutes of the whole lecture. So it would be impossible to do those 4 verses in this discussion, but I will still briefly go over those in the next 10-12 minutes before we close this chapter, this lecture. And then what is at that time, what is the context of the Chatushloki is that Brahma asked Krishna some questions related to Sambandha, which is the relationship with the personality of absolute truth. And then he asked about Prayojana as well as Abhideya, which is the goal as well as the process by which one does this. So the first 2 verses of the Chatushloki directly deal with the Sambandha. The next one deals with Prayojana, and the last one is the process, which is Abhideya. So that's how those 4 are connected. So in text 33 of in the 9th chapter in the 2nd canto of the Bhagavatam. So Krishna explains there that Krishna was the only one who was existing before creation, and there was nothing but himself, nor there was anything material, the cause of the. So all that Brahma sees is that which Brahma sees is also Krishna, and after annihilation, all that remains is also Krishna. So what is the summary of this verse? That all that exists is Krishna. So if we see the philosophy, we have what is very clearly described this as called as Achintya Bhed Abheda. So here it is Krishna is describing here the Abheda part where there is all that exists is Krishna. So there is nothing beyond Krishna that exists. So that is the Abheda part. And of course, in the next verse, you will also see there that how Krishna is there beyond and within. So that means that he can be found in his transcendental feature in the Vaikuntha planet, and he's also found immanent. So he's immanent and he's transcendent, and that we'll see in the subsequent verse. But here, Krishna is explaining that all that exists is Krishna. So that is but here is the big difference between what the impersonalists would think and what the Vaishnavas would think. Even if all that exists is Krishna, but still there is transcendental variegatedness, because everything is differentiated. It is not undifferentiated whole. The spirit is not undifferentiated whole, as the Mayavadis would I shouldn't use the word as an impersonalist would describe it. It is not an undifferentiated spirit, but it is a differentiated and it is variegated, and that is the existence of the spiritual world. So in the next verse, he goes on, Krishna says, "O Brahma, whatever appears to be of any value, if it is without relation to Krishna, then it has no reality. And that should be considered as an illusory energy, and that reflection which appears to be in the darkness." So this is very clear. So that means that everything that exists is always connected with Krishna. So if something is not connected with Krishna, then that is considered to be in the illusory platform. So what does this mean? So this means that when we dream at night, okay, and then we perceive of so many things that happen in the dream as real, okay, but it's still a dream, so we are crying in the dream. Okay, so let's say something bad is happening to us in the dream. Prabhupada says a tiger is chasing in the dream, and we see in the tiger, and that one is being killed by the tiger. So this is an analogy used by Prabhupada. But when you wake up in the morning, then you see that there is no tiger, you are still there, and nothing has happened, and all those bad things have happened to you in the dream. So in the same way, you're getting an impression of the factuality, but it is actually a dream. So that is the advantage of having but there is one advantage here of having the human body, and the advantage of having the human body is even in that dream, one can realize the reality, and that is Krishna. And that is God. That is the advantage. So that is why in the Vedic literature, it is a Uttishta. So Bhakti Vinod Thakur also says, Jagrata, get up, get up, get up. So we need to wake up from the dream, because even the dream, most of all what we have in a dream is maybe illusory and has no reality. But then even in that dream, we can realize the reality, and that is Krishna. And therefore, that is why in the very first verse of the Bhagavatam itself, it says, Muhyanti, Vyasadeva says that the manifested internal potency is real. But the external energy in the form of material existence is only temporary and illusory, like the mirage in the desert. So in actuality, there is no reality in our perception of the manifested world. So the way we see this material world has no reality. The way we see that means that the materialists, the way the materialists see, when I say we, I meant the materialists see the world, the way they see the world, there is no reality to it. But then the reality is seen when it is seen in relationship with Krishna, and that is the second of the Chatushloki. of the Bhagavatam. So according to the Mayavada philosophy, so so here I might try to distinguish a little between what we are as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, what we are saying what is illusory and what is illusory according to the Mayavadi. So according to the Mayavada philosophy, the manifested world, or the world, the manifested world, that means that the material world itself is mithya, that is false. The Mayavadi preaching principle is Brahma, right? Brahma is Satyam Jagan Mithya. So that means that only the Brahman effulgence is true, and that the cosmic manifestation is illusory or false. Okay, so but we are not saying that. We are not saying that but what we are saying here is wherever we find personality. So the Mayavadis may consider that wherever there is personality, form, quality, characteristic, all that is an illusion. But we are not saying that. We are saying that when things are seen not in relationship with Krishna, then those things are illusory. That means that when we are able to see the reality where things are connected with the God, with Krishna, in spiritual variegatedness, and we see the relationship, both Abheda and Bheda, and how they are intricately connected. And of course, that combination is never going to be, it's always going to be inconceivable. That's why we have it as Achintya. And Krishna himself says that Maya Dakshena Prakriti Suyatesa Characharam, that the material energy is also working in his direction. So the supreme absolute truth is perfect, complete, and all the emanations of divine energies coming out of him are also perfect and complete. So that means that the second Chatushloki verse here says that the Vaishnava sees everything in relationship with Krishna, even in this material world. By such advanced knowledge, everything becomes spiritualized. In other words, everything in the material world is already spiritual. So that's what we need to realize that. But due to our lack of knowledge, we are seeing things as material. So, and then the third and the fourth Chatushloki verse, if we see, where we see Brahma. So Krishna tells Brahma here, please know that the universal elements also enter into the cosmos. So all that exists, that Krishna himself exists in everything that's created, and at the same time he is outside of everything as well. So here he is here the first verse and the third verse together, if we need to take it together, that's where many of the impersonalists make the mistake there. They take it taken together, because here it says that he's both transcendent and he's both immanent. So that's what is seen in the third verse. And the person who's searching after the absolute truth must certainly search for all these tips in all space and time, both directly and indirectly. So as far as the Gaudiya Vaishnavas we are concerned, we have rejected many forms of acquiring knowledge other than what is called a Shabda, which is directly coming from the personality of Godhead through the Vedic scriptures, because of the imperfections associated with so many other methods, whether it is logical conclusion, whether it is Pratyaksha, Anumana. We have and Baladeva Vidyabhushana actually gives about 9 different methods of acquiring knowledge. And then in his Vedanta Sutra commentary, Govinda Bhashya, he clearly, it's even though we broadly discuss only 3, Pratyaksha, Anumana, and Shruti or Shabda, but Baladeva Vidyabhushana actually gives 9 such, and then they are even enunciated by Bhaktivinoda Thakur later. And among the 9 different, he still gives in his Govinda Bhashya that only one is considered as the method for obtaining this knowledge, and that is through Shabda, by learning from authorized sources in a disciplic succession. So this is the Chatushloki is a very it can take up many lectures, and the next couple of verses also somehow deal with the Chatushloki. But notably, we can see that there are comparisons between the Vedanta Sutra and the Bhagavatam. So the Vedanta Sutra, also the Brahma Sutra, which has the 4 chapters, they also deal with these same 3 subjects called Sambandha, Prayojana, Abhideya. And here, the Bhagavatam, the Chatushloki in the Bhagavatam also deals with exactly those 3 principles, Sambandha, Prayojana, and Abhideya. And it clearly explains very clearly in one verse, it explains what is the subject matter of that chapter in the Brahma Sutra. So, with that, I'm going to end this conversation, and we'll open for we're almost 50 minutes is done, and the next 10 minutes or so we'll see if there is any discussion, anything that I've missed, and anything that I should have said and I didn't, or any further comments. So thank you so much for your time. Dandavat pranam. Vanchakalpatrvyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Prabhu. I'm just so amazed at how content flows out from your mouth like this. It's very bewildering to me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for covering all these topics in a very systematic manner, which was very easy to follow and understand. Thanks for the summary of and the context of why the Chaturshloki is actually discussed here, about the dance of the Lord, how attractive it is, and how even Mayavadis were actually attracted by just the form and the dance of the Lord. That was really wonderful. That was a wonderful point that you made. And of course, Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana, the Chaturshloki, the first 3 verses of the Bhagavatam, and so on. Very, very nice, Prabhu. Excellent presentation. I just had one question as you were talking about the Sambandha, Abhideya, Prayojana, and you were talking about the 3 acharyas. So is there any specific granthas of theirs which indicate the Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana respectively? Is there any specific work of theirs? Like, for example, I was more thinking, I don't know if I'm speculating, but still I was just thinking that maybe it is the Brihad Bhagavatamrita that establishes Sambandha, and maybe Rupa Goswami has written something for Abhideya, and Raghunath Das Goswami has written something about Prayojana. So is there anything like that? Can you please comment on that?
Mataji, let me first thank you for your very kind words in the beginning. I really appreciate that, and it always motivates and for me to learn more and understand, and especially any words said by Vaishnavas is not to be taken lightly. So I will thank you very much for your kind words. And here it will be highly speculative of me, Mataji, if I say that there is any scripture directly related with it. The main connection which at least I have read about is associated with the deities, because the deities, there is the Chaitanya Charitamrita itself mentions about how the respective deities associated with those 3 principles. So Sambandha with Madan Mohana, Abhideya with Radha Govinda, and then the Prayojana with Radha Gopinath. But it also happens to be that the worship, those who were the personal deities for them were Sanatana Goswami, Rupa Goswami, and Raghunath Das Goswami respectively. Because Rupa Goswami, he is the one who discovered the Radha Govinda, the deities, and then started the worship. And Madan Mohan's personal deity was Madan Mohan was the personal deity of Sanatana Goswami, and but I'm certain there is a lot more to it. But then I don't know how much Prabhupada has gone into if there is any, if that's exactly what they have. What are scriptures connected with them? So I actually don't want to speculate, Mataji, but it's, to my limited understanding, it's mainly associated with the deities. But I don't, from Prabhupada's purpose, I don't know how much more is there to associate them further. But there may be more in other Gaudiya Vaishnava literature which I'm unaware of. But if there is anybody who can share more light, I would be indebted to learn from. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Thank you for the answer.
Thanks. Thanks.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. It's funny, I didn't hear Mataji's question properly, but it seemed like I either had the same one or very similar. So my question is also concerning the deities that represent Sambandha, Abhideya, and Prayojana. And again, you can let me know if it was the same question, but I was wondering how these three deities came to be associated with these three principles. I'm just trying to relate them in a way so that there's a more logical correlation rather than it being apparently random.
So, Mataji, let me say something at least from what Prabhupada has said in some of his lectures. So, he says that these three deities have very specific qualities, and I'm only citing from, telling from what he has said. And so, but there is a lot more. I don't think this is going to satisfy your question, but I will say the limited things which I have read from Prabhupada's lectures, and that the worship of Madan Mohan is on the platform of re-establishing our forgotten relationship with the Supreme Lord. So, and the word Madan Mohan is someone who has the ability to attract even Madan. So he's so attractive, so he may attract us, so that Madan Mohan may attract us, and in that way we establish by that attraction. So when are we able to establish a relationship with someone? Let's say that we, even in our day-to-day life here, so we have a relationship when we are able to establish a relationship with someone when we are attracted to them. So here, the Madan Mohan, he has a specific quality of being able to, since he had the ability to attract Madan himself, so that means that he is able to attract the devotees. So he is able to attract us, and this attraction will nullify our attachment for material sense gratification. So,
sorry, Prabhu. So when you say that deity has the ability to attract Madan himself, is it Madan Krishna?
No. Madan is the Cupid.
Oh, Cupid. Yes.
So he's the personality of Cupid. Mm-hmm. So when he went to the different the demigods, he went to Brahma, and then he went to the chief of all the devas, Lord Shiva, and then they all had different interactions with Madan, and they were immediately attracted to him. So when he went, but then when he went to, they all immediately started expressing those, expressing more mundane qualities when the Cupid went to them. But when the Cupid went to Vaikuntha, at that time, instead of Krishna, instead of the Lord exhibiting mundane features, the Cupid himself got attracted to Krishna, and therefore Mohan is some attraction. Somebody is being attracted to. Attraction is Mohana, and then Madan is the Cupid. So though he had the ability to attract Cupid himself, so that is where the word Madan Mohan comes from. And that, so if he is able to attract you, so he is able to attract us. So when he is able to attract us, then as a result, we are going to lose our attachment to material. It's like a side effect. We are going to lose our material attachment, and then we are able to establish this relationship with Madan Mohan. And so that means this is like a specific quality. Prabhupada, this is like the overall. I mean, I'm sure there is a lot more that can be said there, and but the others have said. But this is what I've heard from Prabhupada's lecture. And
okay, so it's Sambandha. This deity is associated with Sambandha because you need attraction to establish a relationship.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And then when one wishes to render service, then with a strong attachment at that time, so one moves to the platform of service. So Govinda is go itself. The word go itself means senses. So that means that you're going to be gratifying. So gratifying the senses. So here you gratify the spiritual senses, which is Govinda. So that is the platform of service. So they have a specific, again, a specific quality here. Generally, we generally tend to serve through our senses, and that's basically sense gratification. But then when we are serving Krishna, who is the the recipient for to whom the service needs to be done, so that is Govinda. And then Gopinath is very clear, because as a prayojana, so the ultimate goal is to reach the perfection in devotional service, and he was called as Gopi Jana Vallabha. So Gopi Jana is the damsels of Braja. Vallabha, someone who gives them pleasure, the pleasure to the so being in that as a Gopi Jana Vallabha, so as a Gopinath, as the master of the gopis. So that is our goal or prayojana. So this is the broad description for the three deities.
The prayojana is. How did you make the connection between the prayojana and the gopis?
So, because for the Gauri, for us, the chief goal is, even though one can be under various relationships with Krishna, one can be under in the neutral service as Chantarasa, one can be like a blade of grass, one can be in servitude, one can be in friendship, one can be in various modes of service as we have learned, but at the same time, something very distinct for our Gaudiya Vaishnava lineage is our ability to be able, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we have the ability to enter into that rasa, which is the topmost platform of rendering, topmost goal. And that topmost goal is actually confirmed by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his conversations with Ramananda Raya. So when Ramananda Raya goes on and on with the different goals of life, when Mahaprabhu travels to South India, he stops at the highest perfection, which is the Gopi Jana Vallabha, or as Krishna, as the pleasure deity of the damsels of Braja. So that's the highest perfection. So and because all the other Vaishnava Sampradayas, even they are also authorized and they are all coming in the different, but none of them are giving this path here of Gopi Janava. So this is very, very specific to us, and which because of our the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we are able to attain. We have the ability to attain the highest perfection, which is the prayojana. Prayojana itself means what is the perfection of life, perfection of the ultimate goal, the final destination, and that is as a Gopinath, Gopi Jana Vallabha, to be in his in that company.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you so much. I do have a couple other questions, but I also want to give other people a chance.
Okay. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you so much for such a beautiful class and very nice pastimes, Prabhu. Thank you. Is there anybody having any more questions for Prabhuji? Okay. If there are no more questions for Prabhuji,
actually, I do have, if there's still time, can I still ask?
We can ask Prabhuji. Prabhuji, do we have time?
So, Mataji, is it okay if we can do another maybe about 5 minutes, because I do have to get back to my work. So, okay, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think these are quick questions anyway. I know that the Bhagavatam is the commentary on the Vedanta Sutra, but and both were written by Vyasadeva. But why is it always emphasized that it's the natural commentary? Why this word "natural" is always stressed? Why don't we just say it's the commentary of the Vedanta Sutra?
So I mean, so there are a couple of things here, Mataji. So I don't know the word natural, what exactly, what the word natural here, I think to an extent, I'm going to be speculating a teeny bit here, so I really hate to do that. But then is generally would mean that it is not trying to add, subtract, or change the meaning or give interpretations, unwarranted interpretation to things that doesn't need any interpretation. So, for example, like if we take the different bhashyas, means the commentaries given by which are available right now, they are all expressing the translations are based on translations and purports, whatever they have, the respective acharyas of those whoever has written that, they all have added their own speculations there to substantiate the philosophy that they're trying to propound. For example, if we take a simple, let's take even in Bhagavad Gita, for example. If you take the words here, Aham Sarvasya Prabhu. So that Krishna is the greatest of all. Okay, so he's Prabhav. Prabhav is like the most, has all the wonderful attributes. The greatest of all, having the best attributes of anybody. So, and Krishna is saying that he is the best of all. He's the greatest of all. And so if you have to interpret that in a Mayavadi Bhashya, where there is no personality of Krishna, according to them. So that means that when Krishna says that I refers to Krishna's soul refers to the Brahman, which is like the undifferentiated spirit. And that undifferentiated spirit, since it's not differentiated anyway, refers to the soul of any living entity. And therefore, it is as good as saying that the individual soul is the greatest of all. So, you see the commentary there. It doesn't. This is how many steps it has to take to come for an explanation for that. So if you take any of the others, like in the Ramanuja Sampradaya or Madhya Sampradaya, so they would say, since Krishna is Krishna, when he comes, we have clearly explained that he comes from when he descends to the earth, he comes from the Kshirodhaka Vishnu. The Vishnu lies in the milk ocean. He descends here through him, means from him he descends in the material world. And so so they might say, okay, so since Vishnu, in the Vishnu who lies in the milk ocean, who is as Paramatma, so he is from whom any of the descents here the avatars happen. So that means that Vishnu is the greatest of all. So that is again another set of one. It's far better than the Mayavadi one, but it is again there is an interpretation there. That's their commentary. But then if you take ours, and it is not just only in ours, but there are other two sampradayas too in a similar way. One is in the Dvaita philosophy or the Shuddha Dvaita. All these three philosophies are very particular by saying when Krishna says, I am the greatest of all, it simply means Krishna is the greatest of all. So so that means that the Bhagavatam takes that natural method. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why he's going on to this thing here, he's saying that even though Prakashananda Saraswati is saying that the goal of the sannyasi is to be reading the Vedanta Sutra, but then here, Mahaprabhu, you are singing and dancing, which both seem contradictory. And therefore, Mahaprabhu is saying that everything is self-evident because so even though Prakashananda Saraswati did not understand first, initially the glory is the Bhagavatam, but then he says the Vedanta Sutra, but the Bhagavatam itself is the natural commentary. It is not adding, subtracting, it is not changing, it is presenting the things as it is. So there are verses which talk about the Abheda aspect, there are verses that talk about the Bheda aspect, and how these are inconceivable. And the other thing that we have to see also here is that whatever the Vedanta Sutra is trying to say, the Bhagavatam is saying the same thing. If you see the overall meaning of what the Bhagavatam is saying, it is non-different from what the Vedanta Sutra is saying. But in the same context, you can also see that many Vaishnavas, when they have given their work, they are also non-different from the message of the Veda. So if you take the different Vaishnava, if you take our Vaishnava bhajans, even for instance, if you see if you see the meaning, it is non-different from what is there in the Bhagavatam. It's non-different from what is there in the Vedanta Sutra. So it all covers the same subject matter. So when the problem comes, when somebody speculates, adds, subtracts, and to suit a certain kind of philosophy based on their limited intelligence.
Mm-hmm. And you said the way that the ones who say that Vishnu is the greatest, how is that not, as it is? Or how
so it is okay, Mataji. It is all there is when Krishna himself is saying, it says there, when Krishna is saying, I am the greatest of all, it means Krishna is the greatest of all. So that means that they are Vishnu, the forms of Vishnu. So the theology expressed by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are way more advanced in their level of progress than you can see even in I'm not saying anything again, I mean, I don't want to commit any Vaishnava aparadas here, but even those in the other sampradayas, compared to that, the theology explained here by the Gaudiya Vaishnavas are way, way more advanced. So if you see here, even in Vishnu, so it is so clearly we explain that there is Kshirodakasaya Vishnu, there is Garbhodakasaya Vishnu, there is Karanodakasaya Vishnu, Vishnu lies in the causal ocean. It is very much more advanced explanation of, and all the Vishnus, they are still in the material cosmos, even though they are as much as in this, they are in the spiritual, I mean, they are Krishna, they are spiritual, in essence, they are all spiritual and everything, but they are all expansions in the material domain. Krishna is still there, transcendent in his abode, in Goloka Vrindavan, and as much as he is immanent here, as Kshirodakasaya Vishnu, as Paramatma, as Super Soul, he's existing everywhere, but he's still transcendent. And that much is very clear to us, that Krishna is the source of everything.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very nice, Prabhu. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
I did have one more, but I know I should hold it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for beautiful questions, and thank you, Prabhuji, for beautiful answers. Thank you so much. It was very nice discussion. And once again, thank you, Prabhu, for the beautiful class. If there are no more questions, we would like to end the call here by offering obeisances to Prabhuji and all the Vaishnavas. Vancha kalpatarupyasya kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavavrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Jayananda Gauranga Prabhuji ki jai. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare